the usual intro. Dun, 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 dun. I am sat with an absolute amazing lady, Miss Alison Cope. We're here on episode 10, Cheese and More podcast. Not gonna lie, it is a pleasure to sit with you and talk, and I'm gonna try not to get emotional, try not to cry. I've had one already. I will hold back the tears, but I will be sweating underneath this, understand. So any funny smells, it will be Stella and Cavossier coming out of me. Now, massive thank you, Alison, for joining us. I'm still very I'm in awe of you, because you are an amazing woman, amazing mother, and I want more people to see, hear, and know about what you've been through, what you're going through, and what you've got coming in the future. So, where should we kickstart?
Firstly, thank you for having me.
Oh, mate.
And it's a pleasure for me to come here and speak to
pleasure's
you.
all mine, honestly. The pleasure's all mine because you are a absolute gem, and you deserve and need more exposure. You need people to understand and get behind everything that you are about and are doing, because you genuinely are changing and saving lives, on a daily, weekly basis. So
it might be worth, for those that don't know why I do what I do, or some people do know why they know me, but some people don't. So as you know, my son Josh was lost to knife crime in 2013. A lot of people within the music industry, a lot of young people knew Joshua as Depsman, a grime MC from Birmingham, and Josh was stabbed once on the 20th of September 2013 and passed away on the 21st of September. That's when my journey began, or the new journey, shall we say, without my son. And then it's kind of started from there. So that's how a lot of people know me, as the mother of Depsman, the mother of Joshua. So that's probably a good starting point.
No, it is. Basically, before Josh passed, I remember I first spoke to you. I was doing a festival down south, and you rang and said, "Oh, it's Josh's birthday. I want to get him a tracksuit. I want it custom, blah blah." And I was like, "Whoa. Josh is sponsored me. You don't pay for track. You don't have to pay for anything. Tell him what you want and we'll sort it. It doesn't work like that, So as much as you want to, no, I want to pay. No, it doesn't work like that. Your son is talented. He is gifted. We respect, rate, and want to promote everything that he does. So no." And I remember he was like, "Well, I don't mind paying, and I'll pay if I have to." And it's just like, okay, she doesn't understand. No.
That's true.
That's something that, honestly, I remember exactly where I was on Fistral Beach, and it was just like, she's adamant to get this tracksuit and that she wants to pay when I'm telling her no. And I don't think you understand how sick Josh is. So anybody that backs Joshua, and if he's happy to represent, you're being part of something. And for me, with do you mind me calling him Depsman?
No, not at all.
Right, with Depsman, what was eye-catching, and just I couldn't I did not know for some time that when he was 16. I saw him as a sort of older and listened to him like he was older.
Yeah. And
I can remember it was from Don't Flop tweeted one day "Oh my gosh, he's only 16. And I was just on my phone what? I didn't think, as far as I knew, the only young person then I used to sort of get close to was Marsha. And I was just how? He's not acting like 16. How was he 16? I take in his music. I had a thing about people's music. I didn't take in people's music that were a lot younger than me. And I didn't listen to them like that. Mm. And where with Deps, there was a huge growth in himself and in his music, what just came so quickly. So it's he went from spraying bars to actually rapping and like being I can't explain the maturity that happened fast.
He was always quite mature, even from a little boy, but he lived such a full life. And again, not to upset anybody, but I remember as a little boy, I always used to feel that I wasn't always going to have him. And so the word no,
Yeah.
that never came into play. It was always yes. And then in brackets, but let's see how we're going to do this. So you're okay, Josh, and I know what you're doing. I know where you are. I know what country you're in. It was always yes. Because you knew that the kind of person Josh was, he was doing it anyway, with or without my blessing. So you just had to make sure that you did everything to go alongside him.
Yes,
so,
yes.
You know, he was out at the age of 14, flying out to different countries when he was 16.
That's what I mean.
And he was living beyond his years.
Definitely. And just the growth and maturity, like, at the funeral, you spoke about his visits with his granddad, how they had changed from he would nip in, say, or spray some aftershave, be gone. And then you spoke about, not long before he passed, that he was just how much he had grown up and started to spend more time with his granddad. And
yeah, I mean, I think, and it's very hard to explain because you don't know what people feel or what they're going through, but it's as if, I don't know how or why he felt that he had to do certain things before he was going to go. And the week, well, if we go back 10 days before he died, we were on holiday together, and that was a very unusual environment, because normally he was a typical little boy that had to be entertained. You always had to buy everything that was available, anything that was flashing, anything that glowed, anything that you could throw. You had to entertain him all the time. Whereas this holiday, he was just at peace, and he sat with me. And I remember him holding my hand and saying, "I really love you, Mum," and saying, "I can't ever be without you." And I was taken aback by that, because I thought, you're 18 now.
Yeah.
And I remember reassuring him. And then when we came back off holiday, he sat with my mum for a long period of time, and his granddad, and who is now my ex-husband.
Yeah.
And all of them thought, he's acting really strange. It's as if he's saying goodbye to people, and that was just really, really strange. And, you know, he died just a couple of days after that.
Because I remember the pictures from that holiday.
Yeah.
And it was like mum and son, but like
On
mum
tour.
and mate. Yeah, on tour. Doing the most. Chirac Nation. Like, honest.
Yeah, and you'll know this to be true. There was a sign saying, "We do not allow champagne to be sprayed." As soon as Joshua read that, you could see him looking at it going, you're not allowed to spray champagne. And all I saw was, psh,
Yep.
psh, and then he's doing it, and I'm grabbing him, and we're like running. I'm thinking, oh my God. But that was just him. He just always had to go too far in every situation. If it was enjoyable, if it was fun, or he entertained, or he felt he had to say something, he always was way ahead of everyone else, rightly or wrongly. You know, and the album was called Too Real, and that was Joshua. Joshua had no filter.
Like, I think myself, if I'm, like, I always tell the truth on this podcast. It's a platform to do that. He helped change a lot of how people viewed and, like, the MCing game, I believe, at the time in the Midlands was the heartbeat of grime for the up and down UK, full stop. So what was coming out of Birmingham, Depps, man, was changing. So people's flow and how they sort of styled themselves was on Depps, man. And to be that young and have such an impact on that many people is crazy. Like, he had a huge impact on so many different people. Like, myself, I see myself as some old crusty compared to him. And it's like, he's still impacting me. I'm listening to his music to listen, like, properly listen, not just vibe, let's blah, like, I'm taking in the person. And from all ages, young and old, he had that effect on people and in his music. Like,
yeah, and also personally, and typical mum thing to say, I used to love how he publicly expressed love to me,
Yep.
to his grandma, his granddad, in his tunes, social media accounts, and you'd see suddenly had the ripple effect. So he'd put up "My Grandma Is My World," a photograph of him and his grandma. So this is a grime MC known to
Yep.
many people across the country, and that's not necessarily a stereotypical thing a grime MC does. But what is a grime MC? A grime MC is a human being.
Yep.
And he started to break down that stigma that just because it's a certain kind of music doesn't mean it's a certain kind of person. And then during that day, you saw little tweets saying, "This is my nan. Oh, my nan's sick." And that was the influence that he was having, because if he can do it, Mr. Big Tall,
Yep.
you know, full of
Yep.
life, good looking, but also can handle himself kind of guy, a lot of people thought, well, it's not actually wrong to be that kind
Yep.
of person. It's okay to be respectful and to show love, and
No, it's
you
true.
know, and it was part of his process was to get to that point. He wasn't always like that, but we all change, we all develop, we hopefully learn. And that is what I'm most proud of him, because his entire life was a journey of mistakes, of change, of learning, of lessons.
Yeah.
And that's all you can ask for,
No,
is that
1,000,000%.
people try and improve on mistakes they've made in the past. And he 100% went full circle.
No, it was amazing, man. It was absolutely amazing. He had the passion, the grit, the talent. He's got all of them things. And it's just sad, the circumstances, a lot of things what I don't even really want to thingy. Like, do you know, when people say, oh, you got friends around you, some people aren't your friends, they're there for just to leech, they're here for a good time, they're here for any extra alcohol. Like, they're just there for a different cause, not there for sort of...
In my mind, the way it was, the way it is, it's me and Josh. If people do support my vision and do support my belief, that makes my life a lot easier, which is what Josh would have wanted. However, with or without people around me, the love I have for Josh has just continued and grows and grows and grows, even though he's not here.
Yes.
I will always be driven by Josh, because his life, people need to hear that story, and his death, people need to hear that story. So it's both stories that people need to hear, and my job is to be his voice, and my job is to keep my little boy's name out there, because he deserved that. He didn't deserve to die, and his name doesn't deserve to die.
No, Dad, I fully agree with that, and like I said, I'll always do and always do everything I can to help keep Josh's name going, because people just need to hear his story, hear his music, and just get involved, because he is a living legend. Like, he is a UK legend to me, like, honestly. Another thing I wanted to speak about, and it's like to make people aware, if you're alright with talking about it, the sort of music and contracts, because I've seen before there was a lot of certain media channel, won't name them, because I don't want to give them the airtime. I don't really respond too well to them. I can't really give a fuck about them, to be honest. So how to sort of prevent people in the future, because all the time I always say to myself, if Josh was here, things would be different. People would respond and act, like information.
It would never have happened.
Yeah, they would.
I think people see me and know I'm not that kind of person to challenge, take it to that level.
Yeah.
And I think, a lot of people have taken advantage of that. If I just, briefly explain. So Josh, up and coming artist, filming on certain channels, which is a very normal, very common thing to do, and channels grow, the artists grow.
100%.
And that is totally fine. And then, music will be released, that is fine. And it's fine because the person that's releasing that music is there and can challenge if things are abused or ripped off. They are there to have that. So when Joshua died, his voice went, and I realised, I didn't realise straight away when I was in a position of almost losing my home, when I was in a position of, you know, I'd lost Josh, my husband and I had split up, I'd lost my job, and I was there thinking, what do I actually do? And in my mind was like, we're here to help you. If you ever need anything, I thought, okay. One particular channel has made an awful lot of money, so that they're obviously the natural people to ask for help.
Yeah.
And so I reached out and realised very quickly that they were taken aback by that, thinking, well, this was done as we were both building our platform. Josh isn't here. Yeah, it's not our fault he died, and we did make lots of money from his death because of all the views, but we're not going to speak to Alison because that money's been spent. And I just thought it was dealt with really badly. I felt they should have met me. We should have had a conversation. Instead, they blocked me.
Yep.
And the music industry continued to be the music industry, which is what it is. So I would just say to any music artist, there's platforms that you will, you know, hope to get on, and it will give you an opportunity. Take that opportunity, work hard, and build yourself as a music artist. Don't think because you've done one thing, that's it, you've blown. You haven't. This is your opportunity to work hard and work from that platform. Protect your music. Protect your music, because in the rare event that you are to die, if your music isn't protected, your dream of getting your mum out of this area, stacking this, giving your family a better life, isn't actually going to happen. And that's sadly what has happened. But you know, it is what it is, and I try really hard not for that to eat me up, but it is incredibly difficult. I think people within that music that channel have changed roles. I don't know if people are still there, and I'm talking about the people at the point Joshua died. You know, they had no respect for him. They just knew they didn't have to speak to me because he wasn't there to challenge them. And I felt incredibly let down that no one spoke on Josh's behalf.
Nobody.
But you know,
can't expect, like, the good that's in you, can't expect to get out of other people in the sense of what you would do, or like, because other channels or people have responded.
Oh, every single other person, you know, all the big channels, the ones, you know, without going into them, there's only one that was disrespectful, and those other channels were like, oh, we're really sorry, we didn't even think like that. And then that was it. It was not a problem. All I wanted was to be heard. And if they had come to me and said, right, we've made this amount of thousands, but we've spent it, I'm the kind of person, I think they knew that would have gone, oh, okay. And I even remember messaging them saying, well, if it has been spent, don't worry, but could you promote his album, or could you do a little promotion video, and that might help. Blanked. And it was just like, and I won't forget that, and I won't forgive that, because I try, and everything I do will be for what Josh wanted in this world. And I know Josh would not have been happy with that situation. No. So, you know, they have to live with that. I believe it broke down a lot of the, you know, the respect for that channel. And I think different people have started to come in and build him back up, and that's great. You know, I wish the new people all the best.
Oh, yeah.
But the old people,
mate.
They can
crack on.
They can crack on, and one day, you know, if I see them, I will express how I feel towards them, not for my sake, but what would Josh have said to you?
No, 150%. So that's where, like, I feel all the time. I have to ask, not even ask, I don't know, I have to ask myself. I just know, well, if Josh was here, yo, cheese man, can you boom, boom, boom? I'm gonna do it. Like, it's,
you know, the fact that if you watch the Lord of the Mics video and you see my son, who was just the most beautiful, lovely vision. He was wearing, what was he wearing?
He had the story of Mr. Cheese jumper and the Planet snapback. But it was weird because how many weeks before, when, like I said, I felt like I had been duped. I had met him, we chilled in Brom, we've been on the date. It's when they did the rooftop freestyle. And I can remember he was kicking it that day, and I was like, no, you're sick, man. The man's like, yo, I'll wear your thing, I'll promote it as well. And I was like, no, but you're sick. So I gave him some stuff. They did one big freestyle, all of Invasion on the rooftop. And it was like, no, my man's cold. And then I keep saying it. When I seen her say that it's 16, I was like, I felt like, what? So I was hanging around with a 16-year-old for the day. Like,
because again, Josh, when Josh was 13, he was already 6'3", 6'2", 6'3", and he was massive, and he was going to the clubs, and I remember, and people might watch you think, at the age of 14, he goes, Mum, I'm going to get a tattoo. And it's that moment where your natural reaction is going, well, you're not. My Josh reaction was, he's going to get a tattoo.
Yeah.
I have a choice here. He can come back with a bulldog on his face, or he can go somewhere that's registered and I go with him and it's done properly and he's not going to get blood poisoning or anything else. And so I took Josh for his first tattoo when he was 14.
Sick.
Joshua went clubbing in town when he was 14.
Wow.
He was popping champagne. First bottle of Ciroc was bought by me. The only place you could buy it was from Selfridges. And I do look back and I think, oh my God, how was I buying a 13 or 14-year-old a litre of vodka? Which I don't care what anyone's got to say about that. I really actually don't. I remember when for his 14th birthday, I took him to it was dance, rap, hip hop show in the London West End. And I arranged for a stretch limo to pick us up as a surprise. And we had a tour around London. We both had, and I look back and think, oh my God, we both had a bottle of champagne each. We were popping champagne. He was showing it all the ladies. And I was just sitting there going, oh my God. And then it dawned on me recently. I thought, that was not okay. But it was, because I don't regret any of it, because he had to have that life.
Yeah.
Josh had to live, because Josh was not always going to be here. Joshua had to leave. He shouldn't have had to leave, but when he did leave...
He left a lasting legacy.
And he left at the point in his life he had achieved happiness as a human, as a person, as my son, as a grandson, as a nephew. All he was to everyone, he was at peace. And then he went. And for me, it does not make my journey without him easier, but it would have been worse if he'd have gone when he was an unhappy little boy. And so, even though it's the most horrendous thing to have to live with, I'm very proud that through everything, all the challenges he had in life, he had accomplished that one thing that any parent wants their child, which was them to be happy.
No, definitely agree with that. He was, you always say he was a happy boy. He was a happy, he was always
There's
smiling.
very few pictures without a big grin. He was always grinning, because he started to realise a lot. He realised he was loved. He realised he had talent. There was a future. He was fortunate. He had the clothes, the shoes, the girls, the friends. He had every single thing.
It's like some of the charisma and things what some people have to force to put on. He's just...
Yeah, he had
I
it.
can remember one day I messaged and said, oh, you enjoying your milkshake? When he just posted a picture with the milkshake like that. And there was just sometimes some random stuff what he would post and do.
Really? I remember it was raining and he got a JD bag and cut eyes out of it and just put the JD bag on his... Me and him were very similar. But, a lot of people are so inspired by him, but what is so important to me is that they know Josh, which is why I did stand up at his funeral, because Josh didn't have an easy life. Josh had a really difficult time. Joshua did lots of things he shouldn't. He got arrested many times. Lots of things happened in Joshua's life. His reactions to life, the pain was coming out with attitude, aggression. But to have that journey and flip it round, that's a journey that needs to be shared, because there's a lot of young people out there who are struggling. A lot of people are struggling, never mind young people. And I want to try and share Josh's story to inspire them that if they've got family members in prison, if they've been arrested, if they've done something terrible, guess what? You actually have something Josh doesn't have.
Yeah.
You have a life and an opportunity. And if you put the two together, it could actually take you to a point where these things you've been going through are in your past.
Yeah, and you can change, you can change and make your family proud, and never mind that, but you make your family proud and the rest of the nation. So there's a group of people within grime, hip hop, rap, UK culture, not just the music, in the culture, that they will always remember I Know Depsman. There's a million MCs out there now still rapping in the bedroom that haven't, in their 20 years of rapping and spitting, haven't anywhere near or mustard what Josh did, what Deps has done. And it's like, that's the person, that's the gem, that's what, when it just comes naturally, it's just like, oh my God, that has to be celebrated, because he was amazing. He is amazing. He honestly is amazing. And for me, seeing so many different people through the clothing that I would talk to, associate with. I've never seen anybody's name more in people's bio. Do you know what I mean? Like I've never seen it. I've never ever seen that. Like
there isn't a day where people don't send me messages about the impact they've had on you know, their family or them, or you know, his journey, his music, his lyrics, and it still blows me away to this day because I don't understand. I see it and I believe it, but I'm just like, how has he managed through a camera to reach thousands of people across?
Yes.
It's like he was jumping out and jumping out into people's hearts and into their minds. And that I'm a bit like, wow, you actually did that, Josh. And it's stories, all kinds of stories. You know, when he first passed away, I had hundreds of families reaching out to me because their daughter wouldn't get up from college. She was sobbing in a bed for him. The son was angry. They were just distraught. And I just remember thinking, how do they know of him, or how does she know of him? And it was quite a surreal situation for a long time.
Oh yeah, and look, it's still, like you're saying, it's still continued. It's still going. It's still got that impact and that thing because he is literally cemented in people's like culture of growing up. Like Josh was with them, or I used to listen to it on his freestyle on blah, the SBTV. I'd say that's the legendariest sort of one. You know what I mean?
It was like having a child. You know, the way he used to speak and the way he presented himself. I'd be like, where has he come from?
He's like a man-child.
He was
a man.
He really was. But I remember, you know, just that feeling. Like I remember when he came to me, and he just melted me. You know, he never made me angry. And if you actually look at some of the things he did, you'd think I'd be furious with him, but I just adored him.
Yeah.
You know, in a police station, I'd adore him. In A&E, I'd adore him. In a court, I'd adore him. You know, on a beach, travelling, whatever we did, I adored him.
It was hard to be angry at him for some time. I can remember one time at the radio station, because he used to come up...
I'm thinking of what you're going to say.
Yeah, no, he come up and I was, one night, I can't remember what he did in the station, at Rogue FM, I was fuming, I was like, mate, you can't think of this. We kicked off and angry, and the next day it's like, yeah, bro, you know I'm going to do the 2 Real Hats, yeah? We're going to do a whole campaign because we're like, bruv, as angry as I was that night, that don't mean shit. Like, it's literally like, we are, do you know, if we're working together, we're working together. I
think he had a unique ability, because a lot of his friends he used to really, really pee off because of his... Oh, there's been so many times he's been in, you know, Magaluf, and there were certain very well-known people there from the grime, you know, music scene, and he would not filter his opinion, and it would come out, and everyone would just be mortified because most people would be like sucking up to each other and be like, oh, look at us. Whereas Josh was like, I don't like you. So he made the atmosphere change, you know, a lot harder than it needed to be. And everyone like, shut up, Dex, just shut up. And he'd be like, nah, but he's a prick. And it's like, all right, shut. You don't need to say it. You don't need to express yourself so much. So everyone's like, just shut up. Why are you ruining it? But, you know, I think they just saw inside that his heart and his personality, and that just shone through, and people found it really hard to hold that anger with him.
Oh, and it's just, I don't know, if I'm angry at you, I can be angry. I listen to music all the time. Like, I can't stay angry. Listen to what I say about sick. Then that whole thing just, like a fart in the wind, it's gone.
Just really strange, his ability to really irritate people and to get away with it, because his friends just adored him, and they were just like this unit around him, and even if he was in the wrong, they were loyal to him. And because he was so young, he didn't really have friends his own age, so everyone was like trying to guide him, educate him, and show him that you don't have to be like that. And Josh was still Josh.
Yeah.
He still had an ability to just say things as they were. And it became, with maturity and time, it became appropriate what was coming out of his mouth.
Josh, like he harnessed his energy and power into the right things and in the right way. How his music was structured, how he structured himself. Like, he was co-directing his videos. He knew what he wanted. He knew how he wanted to present himself and be presented.
And he didn't want to be the next big this person or the next, a name. Josh was like, I am going to be Deps Man and I'm taking over the scene. And that unique ability to have such confidence in yourself, I was just so in awe of him because I thought, where'd you get that from? You know, these people are like, I'm going to be a millionaire and they become a millionaire. Josh was, I'm taking over the whole scene and I'm going to have all my clothing ranges and I'm going to have my trainers and my champagne.
It was like
and my this
when
and my that.
he did one of his freestyles, the Trendsetter, and he was calling himself Trendsetter at the time, like, and how it became the hashtag of people start to call themselves then Trendsetter, like, this young man here has an impact and has something where people, okay, you see that and go, okay, yeah, I want to take a bit of that now. I want to do a bit of, and it's just being incorporated into so many different things. And it was like, to me, that was from Josh. That was...
I hear some tracks now and I'll hear a line and my ears will go ding. And I'm like, those are very similar to Josh's bars, or they are actually a couple of Josh's bars. And I'm sure it's not because they've just taken it. It's the influence. That's all it is.
It is. And as much as some people don't want to admit it, they have and they will write just like Josh, do so many things, because at that time he had some of the biggest transition and, like, not crossover, but it was like a crossover of just being an MC to an MC personality / rapper spitter, and how the flow was. Everybody wasn't doing that. No. And he was, and he just did it like that. I don't believe he sat too much and thought technically he just can do. So
yeah, and I think and it's just how you look at things. But I think a lot of people, they'll put their heart and soul into the music industry, and real life will get in the way. And that's sadly how it is. They have to get a job because they haven't made enough for music. They have family. There's all different stresses that come their way, and it can really derail a lot of artists, which is why a lot of talented artists aren't achieving the success that they deserve. But I think with Josh, his life and his traumas and his difficulties had already come. So he was then refreshed, ready to be Deps Man. His clothing, his shoes, his holiday money, everything anyone ever saw through social media was paid for through me and through his family and, the unit that surrounded him. And he never had to think about that. All he had to be was Deps Man, and I think that was such a blessing for him because that is what he could then get
100% of Deps Man then, because he's not overly thingy with the
stresses of real life.
Yeah, I hear that.
He didn't have.
That's amazing.
He had them all already, and he struggled, and he was devastated and an awful lot of pain. And then with processing it and supporting him and loving him, he then literally blossomed and could be. So going to the studio, there was no barriers. Buying the best clothes, there was no barriers. Travelling, flying out, all the life that he was living, we enabled that to happen for him.